Hi everyone, it's Bruce Coane here, talking to you today about the COVID-19 or coronavirus vaccine that's out. It seems the big question these days is, can my employer force me to get the vaccine? And what if I refuse? What are my rights? So that's what I'm talking about today. So as you all know, here at our law firm of Coane and Associates, we do employment law, immigration law, and general civil litigation. And we have 10 attorneys, and a number of us specialize in employment law, where we advise both businesses and individuals and handle lawsuits over employment law cases. But the question I'm hearing often these days is about the coronavirus vaccine. Can my employer force me to get it? At this point, nobody's forcing anyone to do anything unless you work at a hospital for the most part, or if you're a public servant perhaps, or you're a first line worker or certain essential workers. But if you look back, this is not the first time that employers would be requiring employees to get vaccines. In fact, I've already had this issue crop up over the years because individuals who work at hospitals, in the medical field, their employers for years have been requiring them to get vaccines and get the annual flu vaccine in particular. And so the bottom line on those is that unless you have some sort of contract or you're protected by a union that actually bargained on this issue, the hospitals have required the doctors, the nurses, the support staff to all get the flu vaccine every year. And if you don't like it, then you need to go find another job, because generally, if you're in a state that has at-will employment, and that's pretty much most states, then you're there at the will of the employer, and if you don't follow their rules, then they can kick you out. And so lots of companies are going to be amending their handbooks in anticipation of the coronavirus vaccine being widely available. And as they amend those handbooks, it would not surprise me if many, if not most employers are going to require all employees to show proof that they got the vaccine. And of course, employees always can come up with arguments or try to find some law that might support them in a case where the employer is forcing them to get a vaccine. So in theory, an employee can go into court. They can seek an injunction against an employer that's forcing them to get the vaccine, but they're going to have some basis for not wanting to get it. And some of the hot issues that might allow them to make such a complaint against the employer could be under religious discrimination, or they have religious objections to getting the vaccine. Certainly the Supreme Court seems to be open to arguments that are based on religion, that you're being required to do something against your religion. And then for the longest time, there's been the Americans with Disabilities Act. If you have a medical condition that might create issues if you would get that vaccine, you could file a complaint under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and that complaint gets filed with the EEOC. Of course, the EEOC has already said that they're not going to really be sympathetic to these claims, and that the governing laws, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Americans with Disabilities Act, etc., in the view at least of the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, is that you need to get the vaccine. But for those who want to fight and don't want to get it, yet want to keep their job, that's the sort of cases that we get involved in and would try to help people. But it's certainly going to be an uphill battle. Most agencies and courts that have historically looked at this have ruled in favor of the employer. But under our laws, anyone can file a lawsuit. All you got to do is pay the filing fee and have some sort of arguable legal claim. And so there will certainly be challenges to the forced vaccination. But at the end of the day, if you work in a state that has employment at will, such as Texas or Florida and most other states, then it's definitely going to be an uphill battle if you want to try to keep your job and not get that vaccine.